This week on the show, Fnatic win back-to-back Pro League titles, Na'Vi make another Grand Finals appearance, and America strikes out. I'm Jack Westerman, joined by Jason Moses O'Toole, and you're watching PopFlash. Our first and only major story this week is the Pro League Season 2 Finals, which took place in Los Angeles, California, from the weekend of the 10th to the 13th of December. So, Jason, pretty big tournament, $250,000 on the line, and a hell of a lot of good teams in attendance. So, let's kick things off by having a look at the Group A results. So as this comes up on screen, we'll see Team Liquid up in the top right. This was the group with Liquid, Envy, Fnatic, and Conquest. And as we can see, Envy went straight through. They won their first game against Liquid, then beat out Fnatic. Conquest got eliminated down in the bottom middle, and then Fnatic stole the second place in this group. And I guess the first team I want to talk about here, Jason, is Team Liquid. Because the first day of this tournament, they came in with Mo. They didn't have a liege because I think he was busy with school, right? So playing with a stand-in, lost that first game, came back to beat Conquest, but ultimately got beat out by Fnatic. Is that what we expected from this roster, given that they had a stand-in for day one?
Yeah, absolutely, pretty much. The one thing that was kind of cool about Liquid is you can see how different. I mean, they had a lot of really bright moments against Envy, and it was really interesting seeing that squad with a consistent opera, because it's something I've harped on over the years, is that they don't have, or over the course of this year, is that they don't have an opera that can just pick it up and dominate the game through a stretch or really impact the map.
Yeah.
Dren, he's a serviceable opera, but he's not he's not a great opera whatsoever. So that was cool seeing them with Mo, and especially because Mo played so well. 0.94 KD, 1.06 player rating in the two maps that he played in. So that was sweet. But you got to think, you look up to their match against Fnatic, and for them to drop the first map like that is just heartbreaking. I mean, that was that they had a real chance there to maybe create some kind of crazy magic, but you just can't drop maps like that to Fnatic.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I guess Envy and Fnatic, two teams that do have deeper map pools than the Americans, I would argue, have gone through. But the ordering is a little bit confusing, perhaps, given Fnatic's recent form. Envy actually won the group. They beat Fnatic 2-0 in that winners game, and Fnatic had to come back. How surprised are you by that? I mean, Fnatic do have this new roster, but they've been looking really good, right?
Yeah, I'm not surprised by it. I mean, it's that thing where we have these top 3 or 4 teams that can all beat each other at any given tournament.
Yeah.
And it was a match too. While at the event, looking over and watching Fnatic during that match, there was that clip on Reddit of Krims just banging his hand against the desk.
Yeah.
We've seen some rage moments out of him recently, but it was a match where they got put on. They got put mentally out of the game pretty early on by Envy, and they seemed very, very frustrated. And that's the thing. Throughout this whole tournament, we see matches where Fnatic struggles through stretches, even maybe look like they're just going to flat out lose the map, and they stay calm and collected. They take a timeout, and then they just come back and destroy everyone. And that never happened in this because they just seemed so stressed.
Okay, well, we will come back and talk about Fnatic a little bit later. They obviously did survive deeper into the tournament. But before we do that, let's jump over and take a look at Group B on the screen now. So this was the group with Team Question Mark, who are ex-TSM, CLG, Luminosity, and Na'Vi over there on the left. And Team Question Mark and Na'Vi were the two teams to advance. Jason, let me ask you about Luminosity, because it's a matter of weeks since they had that phenomenal run at DreamHack Winter. They went all the way through to the finals, playing really well, and yet here we are. We come over to California, and all of a sudden they can't basically win a map against the European team. They got one win, right? One map win. Completely different change in form. Fair to say?
No, actually, just
No?
because. Well, listen, they played Na'Vi twice. I mean, that's the only European team they played, and they've always struggled. They've met up with Na'Vi a couple times in a lot of different tournaments, over the past 5 or 6 months,
Right.
and they just seem to they just can't beat them. And I don't want to say it's like a mental block. I think it's more stylistically that they just really, really struggle against Na'Vi. And that one map they got in the second place match was cool, and you thought maybe there was a chance, but Na'Vi is just showing right now that they're one of the top 3 teams in the world. They are so good at the moment.
Okay, so just unfortunate look of the draw for Luminosity.
Yeah, they just have to figure out how to beat that team. I think if they had played TQM, they might have even been able to beat them. I think Luminosity is a very dangerous team moving forward.
Yeah. Okay, and the other team, of course, that got knocked out in this group was Counterlogic Gaming, who fared a lot worse than Luminosity. They lost 2-0 to Question Mark and then 2-0 to Luminosity themselves. This is yet another tournament where CLG have come up short. They've failed to progress too far. What do they need to do to fix this, do you think?
Well, they've already done one thing, and they just dropped FNS today. That occurred just earlier, where he stepped down from the team. And with that, I mean, I can talk about it. There was something that they'd been talking about internally as a squad ever since the iBuyPower, that week of the iBuyPower and then RGN LAN out in California just a few weeks back before IEM. So you got to imagine that was, a factor going into there. Is, mentally, it almost seemed like when you go into an event and you already know that you're looking at roster changes, it's never a good environment to be in.
Yeah.
And it just didn't seem like they had that normal, the usual like panache to their play style, or like that normal like energy to it.
Yeah.
So no, not and even if they had, I mean, I don't think they would have ever beaten TQM. But they're normally a team. I mean, the older Luminosity lineups, they're a team that played consistently well against them at events. So I think that could have been much better than a 2-1. Not really even close in that at all. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that CLG went 0 for 4 on maps even this weekend.
Okay, well, let's leave the American teams there for the time being. Let's jump through and take a look at the bracket stage, which was obviously after all the American teams have been knocked out, I'm afraid to say, Jason. So
no surprises. Everything going as planned.
Exactly, yeah. So here in the bracket stage, we've got Question Mark versus Fnatic and Na'Vi versus Enviers. And TSM kind of just came to a shuddering halt here, right? They got completely shut down by Fnatic, despite looking so good earlier in the tournament. And, there was the usual kind of, they're choking again. This roster's renowned for it. Is that really the case, or do they have an excuse because they did hit Fnatic, do you think?
No, I mean, the excuse isn't that they hit Fnatic. I will say that, I mean, yeah, with this team's pedigree and this team's history and like they consistently have a falling short, yeah, they choked. To be a little bit fair to them, they have a lot of things going on in terms of their organization, where they're going to be going.
Yeah.
They're in a unique situation that I don't think a lot of lineups would be in that they almost voluntarily left TSM in a sense, and they are looking for this new organization, but this roster is staying together. A lot of times you'll see when teams leave an organization, it'll maybe be 2 to 3 players leave it, and then the team's kind of dead. But they're constantly searching, and they need these. They want these good results. So I think they're just in a very unique spot that we don't see too often. But like they should have beat Fnatic. This is like the weird thing. Once you now get into this stage with Fnatic matches, no matter who it's against, like even the finals, we'll talk about later. Like Fnatic probably should have lost at least one of these maps. This should not have been a 2-0. It just comes down to that point where, with TQM, it's the choking thing. Is just like something like some switch flips, and they just stop being able to kill anything. They don't do anything tactically different or tactically or strategically wrong. They just can't kill anything from a certain point forward.
Okay, so that's Question Mark's route to the final. The other semi-final was Na'Vi versus Envy. Na'Vi obviously advancing 2-0 from that game. And the grand final at this particular event was Fnatic versus Na'Vi, which Fnatic took 3 maps to 2 in the end. Looked shaky, I think, going into the 5th map, right? They'd lost 2 maps. Fnatic won the first 2 maps. Na'Vi came back and won the next 2, and then it was all down to that Cobble game, right? The 5th map. Yep. Fnatic obviously came through. This is their 3rd straight tournament win with Dennis, and they're looking like they're on great form. Any thoughts on that particular final, Jason? Because it was closer than both teams would have liked, I think.
It was a beautiful finals. It was really, really fun. One of the better finals I think we've had this year, especially one of the better BO5s we've probably ever had in CSGO.
Yeah.
It's just it was so heartbreaking. Like when you think about it, and I always hate to look back, and even I did it in the last about TQM and Fnatic, but like Na'Vi should have won this. Like they go up 12-3 on Inferno and then just get stonewalled and lose 16-14. And then they go to the next map and like they go up and they have this big lead, and then a pause from Fnatic, and then they come storming back and they win it 16-14 again.
Yep.
And it's for Na'Vi to lose both of those maps. Actually, was the second map Mirage? I don't think it was Mirage. Mirage
no,
is
it was
the one
the 3rd map, right?
Yeah. What was the second map in that?
Dust 2.
Us too.
Yeah.
And they lost 16-14 again, and it's just incredible that actually, like, the two collapses in those opening two maps, like, that was the thing. If they, even the analyst deck said that if they won one of those first two maps, they probably win this series. And it was just like insane. And that's kind of the thing with Fnatic. I think Sean put it best, is, it's not that Fnatic is just so much better than these teams, it's that Fnatic is actually just taking advantage of the fact that some of these squads are slumping.
Yeah. You
look at TQM, you look at Envy, they're not hitting their potential. Happy gave that interview during the event that they have some internal issues going on. And then they come up to Na'Vi, who isn't slumping, but they're a team renowned for tilting and renowned for having these flare-ups of emotions during matches.
Yeah.
And Fnatic really punishes teams like that. So I actually, in this tournament especially, more so than the other two that they've won, I think Fnatic kind of really got away with one here, taking this title.
Well, that's it for this week. There is no second story. However, we've come to the end of the year for Counter-Strike. This is our last episode of PopFlash for 2015. We'll be back in January 2016. But we thought we'd end the year on a little bit of a silly note, I guess. PopFlash, we record these shows in advance. They're not live. And Jason, just the most unprofessional guy.
Blame it on me.
Yeah, just the most unprofessional guy. Makes all these mistakes when we film PopFlash. So we thought, as an end-of-year gesture to say thanks for watching, we'd show you some of Moses' worst mistakes, because he's the only guy who ever makes mistakes. I'm completely innocent in this, right?
Can't wait for these to come out. It's going to be embarrassing for you, Jack.
All right, so without further ado, here's our worst mistakes from the year. Jason.
Let's continue our heterosexual show.
Okay.
Hosted by an egg and a British giant.
I'm a thumb, I think, now.
Hello and welcome to PopFlash, a weekly roundup and discussion of Counter-Strike news. My name's Jack West.
Stop right now. God damn it, you make me want to vomit. That fucking voice.
Hello and welcome to PopFlash. I'm Jack Westerman, joined by international criminal mastermind Jason Moses O'Toole.
I'm ready.
Dude. Dude. Fucking shut me right down. Nice.
Get another really successful major.
Shit. Edit that out, please. Yep.
Edit at the end.
Hope you're listening. Yep. Yapzilla. Yapzilla. Yep. 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 Please cut this from the final recording. I'm like hard as nails, bro.
It's really cool to see an event there. $250,000 as well.
Well, this is awkward. Fuck.
Oh, shit.
I know. Shit. Let's go. Let's keep it quick. Ah, shit.
Ah,
I know. Last. God.
And we'll be back next week. Oh my god. And we'll be back next. I can't do accents. I am.
What the fuck, man?
That's it for this year. I'm Jack Westerman, joined by Jason Moses O'Toole.
And we'll be back in January with another episode of PopFlash.